Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to show you how I created the Undertaker's jacket. I first started off by drafting a pattern on my dress form, and since this is a non-fitted jacket, it is actually a flowy jacket, I don't have to be too precise on how the fit is. With my pattern almost finalized with the drafting, I am adding a little bit more fabric to the sides and everything just to get that flowy bit at the bottom. With the drafting done, I go ahead and take my pattern and put it on my fabric. I am actually using this faux suede fabric, and this coat will be lined, so I'm using just a basic black poly cotton for the lining. This pattern consists of 2 back pieces with a center back seam. It also consists of 2 front pieces, and the front pieces actually contain the lapel collar, or the front collar that folds down on the front, and it will also consist of a back collar piece as well, plus 2 very, very long sleeves, as well as pockets. The pattern for the sleeves is just taking the inside curve of the actual sleeves from the main jacket and extending it to about 2 feet past the end of my fingertips. Add some structure to the front of the jacket, plus to allow the collar to lay down flat, and some stability for the buttons that I'm going to put, since I'm going to have real working buttons. I did add some interfacing to the collar pieces and to just the front of the coat, so that way the buttons didn't pull through, and I will be adding actual buttonholes. With all the pattern pieces cut out, I go ahead and iron on that fusible interfacing to the collar and the front of the coats. This character also has a chain that goes around the front of his coat, so I actually made these little loops that I'm going to put in the side seams to help support that chain. And all I did was take a 2" by 4" fabric, fold it in half, then sewed it down the long ways, cut the excess seam allowance, and then turned them right sides out. After sewing the center back seam of the back pieces, I go ahead and take that back collar piece and I will put it right sides to right sides and I will sew that on. With that sewn on, I go ahead and take my front pieces and sew it at the shoulder seam as well as attaching the collar pieces together. And then I open that up and I will attach the sleeves. Now I do gather these sleeves down to make sure it fits that armhole, and then I will sew that on. With the sleeves sewn on, I go ahead and match up the armpit seam where they meet, and then I will measure about 6 to 7 inches down from that arm seam to add my pockets. And I will sew each half of the pocket onto its corresponding side. And then I will match up the armpit seam again, and then I will flatten everything out, match up all the seams. I will sew up the arm seam, pivot at the armpit, and then sew all the way down to the bottom of the coat. And making sure I pivot at the pocket as well, go around that pocket, and then pivot all the way down to the bottom of the coat. One thing I did not do until after I had everything sewn was put those loops in the side seams because I wasn't sure where it was going to fit. So here I'm just unpicking that seam, adding the loop through it, and then I will sew that back up. With the loops on, the coat is pretty much done. I just got to attach the lining now, and I will go ahead and open up my coat and attach the lining right sides to right size at the collar and the front seams. And then I will go ahead and sew that on. I do leave the bottom of the coat open, unsewn, so that way I can flip it right sides out. And I do go ahead and get everything situated, and I do pin the edges because I will top stitch this later. To hem the coat, all I do was flipped it back right inside out, and I will match up the bottom seams, and then I will sew that all down together, except for I will leave about a 6 to 8 inch gap, so that way when I'm done sewing I can flip it all right sides out. And since I'm top stitching this anyways, I will use the top stitching to close that little gap. With the top stitching done, I go ahead and finish off the sleeves, which I will match up my edges and I will fold them on each other about a ½ inch to an inch down, and then this will get top stitched as well, so that way everything is encased. For the collar, I go ahead and actually press it down where I want it to sit, and I will stitch this on so that way it stays in place. For the buttons, I decided to buy these button cover kit things that are like a metal shank and a flat piece that you use fabric for. So I use this gray poly cotton to make those buttons with. And then I go ahead and mark out where I want my buttonholes to be. And I created 5 buttonholes with 5 buttons. And with that, the coat is done. Now the scarf thing that goes over the top of it, I used that same gray poly cotton that I made the button covers out of, and just put it on my dress form and gathered it where I needed it to gather according to the reference image. And then I went ahead and instead of tying it to my side, I made this loop with a little bit of Velcro in it, so that way it just sits in there. It looks like it's tied. And to make sure it stays on the shoulder where I need it, I did use some sew-on buttons just to keep it in place. It's hard for me to explain, so I'm showing you my process of what I did and where the lines are, the seams are. I just went ahead and sewed those up or tacked those together where I'm pinning it, and just kind of keep that same look no matter how it was worn. And with that, the coat and the sash is completely done. I do have to say this was actually kind of fun to figure out and make, and I think it came out pretty well. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you next time. Bye.